Oh, can you smell it, Panther fans? It is playoff time once again, and we are here for another series preview. And yes, it's the Panthers and Lightning again. And yes, it's, again, myself, Steve Goldstein, along with my longtime partner, Randy Moller. And Moles, I guess it's fitting, fourth time in the last 5 years. Whoever wins this series, and the three previous, two in the first round, one in the second round, all go to the Stanley Cup final, win the Stanley Cup. What about this rivalry? You've been here in South Florida since the beginning of the Panthers franchise, where the rivalry is right now.
Well, the rivalry is as strong as it's ever been, and for this series, there's the one thing that stands out in my mind is there's going to be no surprises. These two teams, these two franchises know each other. The players on both sides, they know how they play, the systems that they play. It's going to come down to execution, and I think that both teams are going to face some adversity in this series. I believe it will be a long series, and it comes down to the usual that we talk about in the playoffs all the time in the NHL. Comes down to special teams and especially goaltenders. And again, two future Hall of Fame goaltenders, Vasilevsky and Sergei Bobrovsky, going head-to-head. The drama, the stage is set for an epic series once again. Yeah, both Stanley Cup winners. Just remarkable what those two gentlemen have done in their career. Vasilevsky's come back last year when he was still recovering from injury, .920 save percentage this year. Sergei Bobrovsky, let's focus on him for just a moment. He just seems so calm, so at ease, and so confident. Does either team have an advantage in the net during this series, or is that pretty even? Well, I think that because both goaltenders have had the success, as you mentioned, Stanley Cup wins, and they're not going to get rattled. And as I say, I'm going to use the word a few times, adversity. There's going to be some times during games and overall in this series where a goaltender is, whether it's Bobrovsky or Vasilevsky, is not going to be at the top of his game per se, maybe lose a game, but the maturity that these two players have and in the net, in the position that they hold, and that it really doesn't waver them too much. And they'll be ready and bounce back. And both goaltenders, especially Sergei Bobrovsky, the season that he has had this year up into the playoffs has been nothing short of phenomenal. And especially coming off such a short offseason of winning the Stanley Cup last year, he came back focused, and he was fine-tuned with his goaltending and his technique, and I don't think that's going to waver. He's not going to change. You and I, we talk to him almost every day, and he's just even keel, and that's what your goaltending, that's what you want. Both are veteran goaltenders that have been through the wars. Yeah, and certainly rested. It'll be 8 days between games for Sergei Bobrovsky, so that's a good thing. You talk about the intensity, this rivalry. There's been a lot of moments over the years that have been great, some controversial, suspensions at times way back when. But let's talk about the skill level, Randy. Yeah. Nikita Kucherov, third time leading the NHL in scoring. We know how good Braden Point is, 40-plus guy. On the Panthers side, you got the hands of guys like Brad Marchand now, Matthew Tkachuk, Barkov, Reinhart. I mean, we're in for a treat, and I think fans really need to savor this because these matchups don't happen that often. You got some of the best players in the world going at it. Well, and it's going to come down as how each team is going to defend against those players, those star players, the skilled players. And go back to last year where the Panthers really frustrated and shut down and nullified players like Kucherov and Point. No goals reason. Last year for Kucherov in the final. Yeah, and that was a big key in the series. And the Panthers were physical yet disciplined. The Tampa Bay Lightning so loaded, and you talk about Jake Gensel as well. I mean, the addition to what he has made to this franchise. So they have all the scoring in the world, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can the Panthers play their style? What is their style? It's physical. It's in their face. It is pressure all and every point during the games. And can the Panthers do that without being undisciplined? What I mean by undisciplined is taking penalties, because the Tampa Bay Lightning, let's face it, they want to play the whole game on the power play. They're that good. I think they have the best power play in the National Hockey League. Panthers are going to have to hopefully take that game away from them, not allow them to have multiple power play opportunities. Yeah, big factor there. Certainly a dynamic team, faster now, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Remarkable for the Panthers because it's going to be pretty exciting. Hopefully in Game 3 when Aaron Ekblad's back, we finally get to see this team hold. The Panthers have played 54 games this year without Ekblad
and Kachuk and Barkov all in the lineup. They've done a great job navigating this season after playing 209 games over the last 2 years. I ask you, Randy, we dropped the puck Tuesday night in Tampa, game 1. Does anything that happened in the regular season or in past years matter?
No, and I think that's the mindset of the Florida Panthers, because going back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, you look back at the regular season in both those years, and nothing really translate into what they did in the playoffs and getting to the finals and then ultimately winning it last year. So both teams have the depth. Panthers, we know they were very active before the trade deadline. They've got depth players now. They've got players that have been elevated because of the seasons that they have that they've had. Mackie Samoskevich, and that. So it's given them lots of options. They're not going into this playoff series against the Tampa Bay Lightning hoping that, oh boy, I hope we don't lose one player or else it's all going to fall apart. The Panthers have more than enough depth in all the positions to carry them.
You talk about an X-factor on the Panthers side of things. Is there a player, is there one guy that you look at and you go, okay, if he does this, the Panthers win this series?
I thought about that, Goldie, over the last couple of days, and I was going to say Boquist. Jesper Boquist. I was going to say Mackie Samoskevich. No, you boil it down, it's number 19. Matthew Tkachuk, and how he can galvanize how the Panthers want to play with he's such an emotional leader out there, and the physicality and the way that he can make a difference from shift to shift. My X factor is Matthew Tkachuk.
You talk about repeating, and you know the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's the hardest trophy to win. For my money, it's the greatest tournament in sports. What makes it so difficult to win it back-to-back?
Because of the physicality, and the games are so close. They're playing every second night. These players are throwing everything that they have, every shift. And remember, there's no out of bounds in hockey. There's boards and the physicality, and that's where I think the Panthers, they'll take that edge that they have. They're a much more physical team than the Tampa Bay Lightning. If they can channel that and be disciplined and not take multiple minor penalties and allow the lethal power play of the Tampa Bay Lightning on the ice, especially in Game 1 and Game 2 in Tampa Bay, I think the Panthers will have the edge in this series as they did last year, and they proved that they were the better team.
Yeah, and plus, you know, as we know, Aaron Ekblad back for game number 3. That'll be a real big factor when the Panthers return home. How about returning home? I mean, it was an amazing run from mid-January. The Panthers were basically unbeatable at Amerant Bank Arena. We know over the last number of years, Randy, how much the place rocks. I mean, South Florida is all in on playoff hockey. How much fun do you think those home games are going to be in this series?
Well, and they built quite a tradition here, and the players talk about it, where they say, you know, we feed off of that energy and the home crowd in Sunrise, and the way the Panthers dominated down the stretch, played their game. A lot of those games, Goldie, down the stretch when the Panthers went 14-2 in their final 16 at home, where they didn't change their game, and those were low-scoring games. They weren't blowing out teams 7-2, 6-1. They were 2-1, 3-2 games. So the Panthers were able to play that lockdown defense when they get the lead in the third period. That's going to be needed in this series against Tampa.
Okay, tough question. We'll put Randy Moller on the spot.
Again,
is the winner of this series, a first-round series, the favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
Absolutely. And it's been proven that the last 4 years.
Yeah, they have won the Cup, right? Or gone to the Cup final.
Gone to the Cup final. Yeah. So I think everybody's looking around the National Hockey League at some of the other first-round matchups and that. But the way these two teams are built, the skill level, the balance, the depth, that whoever wins this series has to be considered the favorite, at least coming out of the East.
All right, enjoy it, everybody. The Panthers and Lightning for the 4th time in the last 5 years. Everybody expecting this to be a hard-nosed, intense, great skill, long playoff series. We'll see how it shakes out, and we'll see you next time.